Glamour.
Grit. Glamour.
Grit. Glamour. Grit.
1 in 8 women will develop breast cancer in her lifetime, and it makes so much sense because I don't think I know a single woman who's been affected by breast cancer in some way, whether herself or a loved one. I cannot stress enough the importance of getting your mammogram because early detection is key, and nowadays with new screenings and new technology, it's easier than ever to take proactive control of your breast health. If you're in North Texas, you're in luck because Texas Health has 18 breast centers as well as an easy 5-minute assessment to help you learn you're at risk. Take the free assessment at texashealthrisks.com. I know your time is precious, and it can be so hard to do something that, well, let's face it, isn't the most comfortable, but it is so worth it for your health and your future. Hello, hello. Welcome back to the Glamour and the Grit. Guys, it's your favorite day. And what is your favorite day? Monday. And what does Monday mean? Celebrity Monday. Guys, these are my favorite Jays. I have not met these Jays in person, but these Jays are my bros, my friends, my boys. I idolize this duo. I feel like your name should be Jarek and not Eric for this episode today.
It was confusing at first. So these two guests and I did a movie together a couple Octobers ago now in Houston. And their names are pretty similar, so it did take me a while to kind of get them
I
right,
know Eric. I bet you were horrible. I bet you called
No, I was actually
each other.
really good because I liked them a lot, and they're amazing people and incredible actors. So I'm so happy that they're here. And you'd think we're kind of here on like promoting the movie, but we're really just here to shoot the shit and talk and get to talk stories. But without further ado, should we bring them in?
Let's bring them in, baby.
Guys, please help me welcome Jack Falahee and Jake Thomas. What's up, guys?
How's it going?
Hi, boys.
Good.
Hey, guys.
Hey. So real quick for the listeners, and I like to do this in front of the actors because you need to know how amazing you are. Sainty thinks it's so awkward
It's next level awkward.
when I talk about what actors have been in front of them, but I really think you need to be reminded of how great you are. So a lot of you guys know these are probably two of the most successful television actors I know and have worked with. Jake started when he was like 6 years old and jumped into AI, the Steven Spielberg movie, as a child.
No big deal.
Was a lead on Lizzie McGuire Forever, which I watched my entire childhood and may be guiltily still watching at time to time. And Jack, of course, has done like every one of Sainty's favorite TV shows.
Literally every single one. All my favorite shows. And then he hit the big time.
Yeah, I mean, he was a lead, a series regular on How to Get Away with Murder forever.
With Miss Viola Davis.
So no big deal.
No big deal. Jinx.
But guys, thanks for being here. Really, I appreciate it.
Hi, guys. I feel like we're in like a final callback right now because y'all look close enough alike that it's like, which type are we going to go for this episode?
Has that happened? Have you guys ever auditioned and been like up versus the same stuff?
I'm sure.
Yeah.
It had
Probably.
it had to have happened. Obviously, you know, those are some of my favorite memories of moving to Los Angeles, is running into people in the waiting rooms. You know, I kind of miss that since we're doing so much remote now. But
Although they sometimes do like a waiting room on Zoom, which is, I think, even worse.
Oh, and all you do see is black screen and names?
No, sometimes it's like you get like 5 people and they're just standing around, just like this. They're in the breakout room, just waiting, and then they'll just disappear as they're taken into the audition room. I think it's worse than in person waiting room.
yeah, that's crazy.
Y'all, I miss the in-person days. Well, I am your biggest fan, so I'm going to fangirl most of this episode. So, Eric, what shall we begin with?
Well, I mean, first of all, so this movie I kind of touched on, Holly by Nightfall, that Jack and Jake and I did. It's funny because we did the movie together and we all played friends, but really our bonding happened in the most insane gym, I think, in the world. that I just feel like I need to bring up because that's kind of what brought us all together.
I am gonna gag. You bonded at the gym.
I mean, this isn't just a normal gym. Like, how do I even explain it?
It's an experience, is what it is. It's a pilgrimage.
Yeah.
It is. It's like this influencer super gym in Houston, Texas that, like, I mean, I've never seen human beings like that perfect in my entire life. And this place has like setups for like selfie cameras and lighting, and like it caters to an influencer, for fitness influencers. Then there was us, like falling down the slanted hill, like running climb thing. And like,
It was Jake, Jack, and Jarek.
It was. Luckily,
We even had to. They got us in the cult clothing there. As soon as we got initiated in there, we had to be blessed with the Alpha Land clothing as well. Mm-hmm. We couldn't just work out there. It wasn't enough.
No. And Eric still wears the clothes. I think he's got like a
Say, I
ginormous
wore my
dust.
shorts this morning.
they're amazing. You can't beat it. You really can't beat it. And we all looked like our Power Rangers, and it was great.
Oh my God. Y'all are such nerds. I love it. Okay, wait. I want to start really quick with Jake Man. And I'm going to call you Jake Man because my brother's Jake, and I love me some Jakes, and I love me some Jacks too. But so you moved to LA at 6 years old. Like, were your parents in the entertainment industry? Like, how is it like, we're all taking the bus and we're going to Los Angeles?
For those moms and dads like wanting to get their kids in the industry, how did that happen for you?
I got into it by total accident. My dad was on the radio for many, many years as a radio DJ in Knoxville, Tennessee, and my mom was a local news anchor, and she had a local like daytime show. And I was even on TV the day I was born, which is kind of crazy. Yeah, there was a whole naming contest for me leading up to my mom giving birth. So yeah, it was all televised. There was a countdown. It was crazy.
You were like the royal baby.
Yeah, exactly. Seriously, at least in Knoxville, I was. And then growing up, my mom she had dabbled in acting. She had done some commercials and everything, like in Atlanta, and she had started to like make trips out for like pilot season to LA for like go for a month, try to see what can happen, and then come back. And she had actually booked some roles on stuff, and my parents were like, all right, what if we give this a shot? They're both writing, they're both acting. We're going to quit our jobs, move there, rent a house in Sherman Oaks for 6 months. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, we'll go back home. And I got involved in it by total accident. I went with my mom to a meeting with her agent, and at 6 years old, I wanted to be a stand-up comedian, and which basically just meant I would tell a whole roster of jokes to anyone who would give me the time of day. And the agent saw that and was like, "We have a youth department. He'd be pretty good." And tried it out, and I think I booked like 5 or 6 national commercials in a matter of a couple months, and it just snowballed from there. And then we ended up staying out in LA.
What, now your parents still there, or did they
No,
ever go back
my
home?
parents moved back to Tennessee when I was 18, and it's just been me.
They're like, we're out of here. So were you an only child, or did you have any siblings?
I have 2
come
half
with you?
siblings. I have 2 half siblings that were much older. They were already graduated out of high school by the time we moved out to LA.
So I'm like learning how to ride my bike, and he's learning how to like deal with like Hollywood celebrities on set.
I
Like,
mean-
this is insane.
And the biggest celebrity of all, Steven Spielberg. So how did that happen? Like,
That was weird. I had actually booked Steven Spielberg's AI and Lizzie McGuire pilot at the exact same time, and I was going to have to choose between one or the other. And
And you're how old at this point?
I was 9.
Of course.
wow. Sophie's choice.
Almost double digits. It's time.
Yeah.
Boots, built for the Western lifestyle by cowboys and cowgirls who live it every day. Their exceptional quality and unmatched attention to detail come from the heart of years of experience. You'll hear people say they don't build them like they used to. Well, the Rios family of brands does. With an unwavering commitment to doing the right things the right way, The company's dedication to family, quality craftsmanship, and the preservation of a history worth sharing is as strong as ever. Find your perfect pair today at any of their retail partners. For a full list of where to shop or to learn more about the Rios family of brands, visit riosfamilyofbrands.com. Step into the proud heritage of the Rios family of brands, a testament to the heart and soul of the American West.
And fortunately, the executive producer on Lizzie made it work and was able to like work things out with Spielberg, so I could do some time with him and sometimes on the show. And yeah, it was. I'm very thankful that worked out. But the auditioning experience for Spielberg is crazy. Did not have, obviously, the script was so like under wraps that they didn't want anybody reading it, seeing it. So I think the audition piece I had was from Radio Flyer.
Oh my God.
And I don't remember this part, but my parents tell me this all the time. When I did the casting, the first round of casting, they said that I came back out of the casting room and I told my parents, well, we're never going to hear from them again. Because evidently I thought at 9 that I had just totally bombed. And we found out like a day later that Spielberg wanted to meet with me personally for a callback. And so we went to the Warner Brothers lot, found the office, and nobody else in the waiting room, just me. And then I walk in and I've got my sides ready and everything, and it's Spielberg at a table, and then just I think there must have been like 10 people like lining the edge of the room. And he's like, oh, don't worry about the sides. We're not going to do that. We're just going to talk. And he's like, sit down. Let's just talk. And so we just talked for like 15 minutes. He asked me like, oh, do I have any pets? What are my siblings like? What do I like to do? How's school? Just got to know me. And never went over the scene, left. And then later that day found out that that I had gotten. And I think I also, it's, you know, that whole thing, when it rains, it pours.
Yes, every time.
Like, so I think it was Lizzie, it was that. And then I had also gotten Pearl Harbor. And I wasn't able to do Pearl Harbor.
What?
Bro.
It was a crazy, crazy couple weeks. Yeah.
Oh, and how does a 9-year-old celebrate? It's like, Mom, Dad, let's go to Toys R Us.
Oh,
I made the
got,
big
like,
one.
my parents were like, oh, you want to go to the toy store? Like, you can pick out whatever you want.
Sure. Yeah.
We're rich.
Do you have like, are you comprehending this at 9 years old? Like, are you like?
Oh no, God
okay.
no, no.
Like,
I had no idea. I had no concept of who Spielberg was, even on set. I mean, it's like I knew that he had done like Jurassic Park and E.T. Okay, yeah, I've seen those things, but I had no real concept of the level that I was working at, and which I think probably helps to a certain degree because I had no fear. And that's, I guess, that's a beautiful thing going into a project like that. But now I feel like doing something with Spielberg would be like, oh my God, all right, don't fuck this up. Don't fuck this up.
Yeah, of course.
I'm back, Spielberg. Remember me?
I can't even fathom.
Well, and Jack, I've got to say, my Spielberg is Carrie Diaries and Twisted. I love
she's
you,
dead
Jake,
serious.
but I am brutally serious. I think you reoccurred and guest starred before How to Get Away with Murder with every single one of my favorite shows. Because wasn't Twisted the spinoff of A Pretty Little Liars? Correct? Was that?
It
kind of
was
like
it was influenced by it. It wasn't a direct.
Was it
spin-off.
Marlene King?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. I just remember that all being like the same time. I think I was in high school or in college, and it was like those were the shows because you went from ABC Family to Freeform, and that was like such a big deal because it was like, and then of course Austin Butler and Carrie Diaries, and that show did not get enough seasons. I think it was the best.
I agree. I mean, Anna Sophia Robb is an absolute legend. She and I were reunited on Mercy Street, the Ridley Scott Civil War miniseries. That also, I don't think got enough seasons, but
is that the one that Hannah was on?
Exactly, which Hannah James, which we then all met or all worked with on Holly by Nightfall. But my claim to fame on Carrie Diaries, I was in a one-off little scene where she goes to the club in New York City for the first time. And my character is the one that introduces her to cosmopolitans.
Just no big deal.
A cosmopolitan for a cosmopolitan. That's like my one line.
That's
But
great.
yeah.
Is that like her
but-
thing on the show? Is that
Oh
like,
my
does she
God,
become
Eric.
a Cosmo
I mean,
girl?
that's like what
Yeah,
you go do
yeah.
like the Sex and the City tour in New York City just to go get the Cosmo. Like, I mean,
Wow.
it's like that is really the whole point of the freaking
So
series.
Jack
is a
changed the
Cosmo.
trajectory of the entire thing.
1000%.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
It's Sex and the City and Jack.
I mean,
Hopefully I'm on a trivia, in some bar somewhere. But yeah, I mean, I had sort of like the opposite experience of Jake, where I got into acting super late, and was just kind of being a normal bozo kid in Michigan, and
Go Blue.
Go Blue.
yeah, congrats on an incredible season, by the way.
Hell
Football.
of a season.
God.
Oh my God. That Rose Bowl game was like one of the highlights of my life. I know. I wish we could have met while we were there, but
Yeah, we were both at the Rose Bowl texting each other where our seats were, but still somehow wasn't able to.
It was chaos. There
It
was no
was.
cell service, hundreds of thousands of people.
Yeah.
And we were with the loser team. We weren't with
that's
the
all right.
winning team. So we weren't as happy as you.
But yeah, I grew up in Ann Arbor and didn't really, I was always in choir and, church choir, that sort of thing. And then one of my friends passed away unexpectedly my junior year of high school, and I wasn't dealing with it well, understandably. And my grief counselor had the bright idea to have me audition for Singing in the Rain, the fall musical that was happening that year, because my friend was a big musical theater guy, and she thought it would be a good way for me to work through, the grief that I was experiencing having lost someone.
Gene Kelly or Donald O'Connor?
What's that?
Who were you up for? Gene Kelly's role or Donald O'Connor?
I was up for Gene's role, but I didn't get it. So I had a small. I was
gonna say, it's his first musical, E.
Well, I mean, I know his talent. I figured he busted out.
I played RF, the producer, but I felt that like feeling of escapism that I think we get sometimes performing, and it was really cathartic to pretend to not be a 16-year-old that had just lost someone close to them. And after that, a friend or a student at the University of Michigan came up to me after the show and was like, "Hey man, like you're talent, you're good at this. Have you considered pursuing this further?" And I was like, "I don't even know what you're talking about, man. Like what?" And he, out of the goodness of his heart, just started coaching me for collegiate auditions. And I didn't get in anywhere. And then at the end of the summer, I was all set off to go to a different school and be like a poli-sci major and I don't know, become a senator or something. And at the end of the summer, I got a call from NYU and they're like, "Hey, a spot opened up for you in the musical theater department if you want to come." And being a dumb young kid, I was like, "Yeah, sure."
Let's go, New York.
But the crazy full circle thing is that that guy, the U of M student who encouraged me to audition and helped me out so much, years later, I get cast in How to Get Away with Murder. We film the pilot in Philly, and then it gets picked up, and we're filming in Los Angeles. And I drive onto the lot my first day of filming, and there's Mike Solemn, the guy who coached me in high school, stenciling my name onto my parking spot.
What?
And I get out of my car. I hadn't seen him in 10 years almost. And I'm like, "Mike, what is going on?" Turns out he was the lot manager. And he's like, "It's a little bit below my pay grade, but I wanted to be the one to welcome you to set because I'm so proud of you." And I'm just crying.
Oh my God, I'm about to cry. What?
I know, crazy, man. And so
Wow.
we've been close friends ever since. But it's wild how like a decision like your parents taking 6 months to see if it can happen, or a guy encouraging you to audition, like it's just that little thing in the universe that like completely changes the trajectory of your life.
Oh, no kidding. So wait, so how did the transition happen? You got into NYU, but then did Michigan call out of the blue?
No. I went to NYU. I went to NYU.
You went to NYU. So
yeah, I
then
didn't get
you
in-
just
I
are a
didn't-
huge Michigan fan because that's where you're from.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's his
I
hometown
did not-
team.
I did not get into Michigan. The best part is I remember the University of Michigan, it's arguably the best musical theater department in the country or world. And they break up the audition into piano, vocal performance, so like singing your songs, acting and dancing. And I remember doing the acting audition and the guy was like, I mean, you nailed this, so as long as you don't screw up the others, you should be good. And then I absolutely blew singing and dancing and piano.
You're like, wait, Jack, were you there? What year were you auditioning?
To go to Michigan?
Yes, because I was going to Michigan, so I wonder if we could have been at the same audition. Because I was musical theater.
Oh yeah, I graduated high school in 2007. So
Me too.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh my God, we could have been classmates.
Well, I didn't get in, so.
Well, no,
but yeah.
I think you had a lot better career, so I wouldn't worry about it. I think you've done mighty well for yourself. Now, what was it like, both of you? I feel like, Jack, you went kind of from this teen heartthrob to really into this super serious How to Get Away with Murder, and kind of, in LA, you kind of see sometimes they're like, oh, well, then there's kid stars, and then you get on primetime. And I feel like, Jake, you did the same thing, going from Lizzie McGuire to other things. What was that transition like? Did you feel like you had to beg people to take you more seriously for different things?
You want to go with Jack?
No, you go for it.
For me, I mean, by the time I was doing Lizzie, I had already had a decent resume in just dramatic stuff. So for me, I felt like it wasn't too hard to get back into dramatic. And if anything, I've done way more dramatic work than I have comedic, even though most people know me for my comedic stuff. But yeah, I think right after Lizzie ended, I kind of just went right into doing procedural drama, like guest stars, and just doing that. I lost the spiky hair, and and then that was it for people to see me differently, I guess. I don't know.
No, it's so true though, because even Eric, like, I feel like so many people know him from 1883, and he plays this like sweetsy, and I'm like, he's never played that. He was all, and it's so weird to me that people, like, now we couldn't ever get him an audition for like a sweetsy character.
That's the weirdest shit. It's like forever I'm playing these drug addicts and like edgy stuff, and I can never be seen for like the love interest or those types of sweet roles that you root for. And then I do 1883, and I can't get in for the drug addicts anymore. I'm like, wait, what's like, you
That's
guys?
my bread and butter. That's what I know.
Yeah, so that has been a thing for me. Did you ever fall into anything like that, Jack? I mean, was it ever like a kind of being seen for one thing?
I think that I got lucky in that things sort of progressed naturally and honestly, like, pretty quickly in a way that feels surreal, where I graduate college and spent a couple years in New York just doing indie films and playing kind of similar to you, playing more like gritty drug addict, alcoholic, guys down on their luck. And then I did this Lifetime movie that was an adaptation of Romeo and Juliet.
Yes.
Escape from Polygamy.
The best movie ever.
Which was opposite Haley Lou Richardson, who was just seen on White Lotus, and she's an absolute star.
Dang.
But that, put me into, to your point, Sainty, like a little bit more of a, younger heartthrob space, which was fun. And then, like, I just aged into How to Get Away with Murder was like a complete accident, sort of me getting on it.
And kind of I've heard the story, but can you talk about how that went down?
I a couple years before I moved to Los Angeles, I was doing a Nick Cage movie in Mobile, Alabama, and had like a tiny little role in it. And I mean, it's similar, right, to our experience working on a film together where it really does feel like summer camp, where you're just like dropped into a location with a group of artists and you become really fast friends. And it was my first experience shooting on location, and I met this actor, Max Fowler, who's this incredible dude, incredible actor, British guy. And he was coming out to Los Angeles for pilot season. I just moved there. And you know how it is where you always compare what you're auditioning for with your friends.
Mhm.
And I feel like there is a lot of camaraderie and like looking out for each other and sharing, you know, auditions and whatnot. And so he and I were auditioning for all the same stuff. And he was actually in callbacks for my eventual role on How to Get Away with Murder, and let me read the script. You know, he's like, I think you'd be great in this. And at the time, they were looking for a little bit of a different type than me, and so they didn't want to read me originally. And then, you know, I sort of begged my manager to beg casting, and they're like, all right, yeah, you know, we haven't met Jack yet, but like, you know, we'll read him. And I thought it went well, but I didn't really hear anything as it goes.
Wasn't it
And
like the assistant, like you were kind of like the last one scene or some crazy
yeah,
thing?
'cause they were already in callbacks, right? And producer sessions and all of that. So I think that I just ended up reading with like the casting associate. And I sort of got the impression that I was like, oh, like they're doing this as a favor, and I don't think I'm actually really being considered for this. Which in my mind made sense because, you know, Max was in his like third round of callbacks with Pete Nowak and Shonda Rhimes. And
Yeah, and that happens a lot. Like
yeah,
they'll
that happens a
audition
lot.
us knowing that they've already got somebody in mind, but it's like a formality. They've got to go through the steps, and so we
Yeah.
have no shot from the beginning, and we're still hanging on our hat on the fact that like we could get this role, but meanwhile they already know that there's no possible way. So that does happen. So I completely
It does happen. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't think that there were, to my knowledge, like offers or out or anything like that. But yeah, eventually I get a screen test. And I guess what had happened is Linda Lowy, the casting director, had sent Pete, you know, this was also before like tapes really, you know, most of the auditions were in person and you were getting called back in person. And but I guess she sent him a batch of tapes just for him to like look through if they were having a hard time, I guess, casting my role. And years later I find out that just like on chance he was going through the tapes one night, you know, over dinner, and stumbled upon my tape. And that is what triggered me getting the screen test and then, you know, eventually getting the job. So I definitely count my lucky stars, but yeah, I think it was sort of a natural progression though, because I was playing like on Twisted, I was playing, you know, 17, 18, whatever. And then for How to Get Away with Murder, I was transitioning into like 23, 24. I wonder if you guys have this experience now, but I actually think that the transition into your 30s to me is a little bit harder because I feel like there's a lot of like 20 something year old roles. And then when you get into 30, I think it's a little bit harder for people to envision you making that leap.
Definitely.
I think especially too with all of you guys, like Eric's a dad of 2, but then he would never, ever be sent an audition as like a dad of 2. Like it's so weird in my mind. Like if I'm watching TV, a dad needs to look like a dad. Like somebody in their 40s, even though most of the time, like kids of 2 and 4-year-olds, parents aren't in their 40s.
Yeah, and I hit this thing too where I was like, I started getting these breakdowns for 30s, and I was like, wait a minute.
What a concept.
Like, I don't feel like I look like I'm in my 30s yet.
Oh,
I don't feel like I read like I'm in my 30s.
dude, so I just ruptured my Achilles filming a movie.
Which, I did want to get into at some point.
Yeah,
Are you
but this I feel like is a good segue where it's a hockey movie, right? And
Eric's
I remember
getting hot. He loves himself some hockey.
There are 3 things I had on my bucket list as an actor, and it was a war movie, a Western, and a hockey movie. And I've checked off 1 so far. So
yeah, I mean, you're doing pretty well. There's time, but
very
to
jealous.
your point, getting 30 year old auditions. I remember getting the call from my manager last year about this film, and he's like, so an offer came in for you to do this hockey movie. We read it, we really like it. And I was like, oh, amazing. Like, I've always wanted to do a sports movie. And I was like, so am I playing the captain of the team? Like, what's the vibe? And he's like, no, you're playing the alcoholic coach. It's like, oh man, right. I'm 35. Like I'm coaching a high school team. Right. Okay.
Discover a curated selection of renowned brands that embody luxury and craftsmanship, including Lucchese, Stetson, Double D, Stallion, and Blackjack, alongside captivating new arrivals and unique brands waiting to be explored. Elevate your wardrobe, elevate your lifestyle. Experience the epitome of luxury at Pinto Ranch. Mention this ad in stores or use code Eric Sainty, that's ERICSAINTY, at pintoranch.com to receive 20% off your purchase.
Wow, put me in, coach.
Yeah, exactly.
God, Jake, are you hitting these yet? Are they throwing these old man roles your way yet? And we all started young, which is why it's like so
I'm dying
impactful.
laughing. Old man roles, 30-year-old roles, man roles.
Listen, we all started, like, he started at 6, I started at 13. Jack's been doing this since college. So, significant, and he looked younger coming out, so he's playing younger roles. I don't know. It's just, I remember doing the teenage roles, then I remember doing the early 20s, college, mid. Now I'm seeing breakdowns for 30s, and it's really kind of scaring me. Where are you at with that, Jake?
Well, first off, I think there is a serious lack of roles out there for people in their early 30s. There are things that are written for early 30s. Nobody wants to see that age. It's a tough age for everybody to transition into.
It is.
But no, I think I had like an agent, I think, a while ago that they were just submitting me only for like mid-30s kind of things. And it just, a lot of the roles just did not fit me whatsoever. And I still, I think I look young, and I feel like I can maybe play 30. But I think a lot of my stuff is still solidly in the 20s.
Like, you just did NCIS.
I'm fine with.
How old were you on NCIS?
I think technically I was supposed to be 30 on that.
Oh, okay.
The breakdown was 30. So that's the oldest I've played yet.
Nice.
Daddy's moving up.
He's an old man.
Let's go. Okay, Jake, I need to talk about Lizzie McGuire.
Yeah.
What was that like? Everybody my age, I wanted to be Hillary Duff. I still want to be Hillary Duff.
I want to be Hillary Duff. Come on.
I'm like, she has so many babies. It's amazing. I don't know how she does it all. But what was that like working on a show? And that was like the prime. Like, did you do the wand? Did you do the whole shebang?
We were the first ones to do the wand.
Oh my God.
That was totally new to us. And I had no idea that it would become such a crazy thing. But yeah, it was great. First off, we really had no idea how crazy the show was going to be. And I don't think anybody at Disney knew either. And we shot everything really fast. We shot 65 episodes in 2 years.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it was back then, Disney had this whole concept that they worked with, which was kid shows. Kids outgrow it. You gotta film something with them as quickly as possible before they grow up, before they look any different. That they don't want kids to see, the actors on this from like an episode that was from the first season, and then the last season, they look too different. They don't look like the characters anymore. They want to be able to play those reruns like just interchangeably. And the whole method was shoot for 2 seasons as much as possible and then move on to the next thing.
Did you have like
obviously
hiatuses and breaks? Like, or
we had one hiatus and it was very short.
Wow.
But yeah, it was just non-stop.
Did you realize like the magnitude of what you were a part of at the time?
No one did. No one did. I mean, at one point, it was touted as the biggest kids show in the world, which I had no idea. I think I watched actually recently. It was like this infographic thing on YouTube that was like the #1 shows or like viewership of shows throughout the years. And it started like in the 90s and it showed just like a chart of like, each show. And it's like Sopranos and everything. And then I was watching it fully not expecting to see anything that I'm in. And it was just like Lizzie McGuire. And it's like, oh my God. It was that popular that the viewership was showing up as a huge thing, like surpassing the Sopranos at one point or something. And it's crazy. But and then I think it is interesting how it has had such a lasting power today even. I mean, we're 20 years down the road and people are still like, oh, I love watching, I'll just pull it up on Disney Plus and just watch it, or like that shows my childhood. And I think it's crazy. I think it's great. I think it's a very special thing to be a part of a project like that. But yeah, it's crazy the amount of just fandom the show had.
No, it's so true. And I gotta say, we do edit, so this can be taken out. Y'all were gonna bring it back, right?
Yeah.
And that was a shot to my ego.
I mean, we all were excited for that.
I was
Not gonna lie.
so freaking excited. Did you understand the reasoning why, or were you just kind of like, let's just bring it back and then we could make changes within?
The reasoning as to like what, why it didn't go through?
Because wasn't it, she I think she did say that it just wasn't authentic to what her character would be like now, right?
It was a lot of, I'll just say this, it was a lot of different opinions of like what the show should be. And the people that were the deciding people and if the show was going to continue, those groups could not come to an agreement. And so...
Were you so bummed? Or were you like, okay, maybe this is a blessing in disguise?
It's whatever.
I mean, come on, babe. Yeah, of course.
I mean, come on. I mean, yeah, it's not every day that just a brand new series regular just plops on your lap out of nowhere. But so yeah, I mean, obviously, I was bummed about it, but I mean, that's Hollywood.
I know it's so true.
I mean, there's so many more stories of even more tragic than that.
Yeah.
But it just goes to show because I think it's. In our industry, it's a wake-up call of like, just because you filmed 2 episodes doesn't guarantee anything.
Ain't that the truth?
Like, don't ever think you're safe from something being canceled or taken away. It's just that's just what it is.
I mean, the only experience I have with something like that, there was a Netflix animated show that was a reboot of one of my favorite animated shows. And I got cast as the lead for a 100-episode pickup.
Oh man! Oh man!
And doing voiceover, right? And it was my first voiceover gig. Sainty, I've always wanted
my God!
to do
You're like,
voiceover.
I'm a fucking star. This
exactly.
is it.
I was like, this is my dream. Texting my brothers who I watched this cartoon with growing up, and they're freaking out. Like they've never watched anything in my career, and they're like, let's go. And I record the first 5 episodes. And I was driving to Burbank to record the 6th, and I got fired on the way.
No.
So they replaced it and the show still went on?
I won't say what it is, but it came out and it's very, very successful.
Well, yeah, damn it.
Was there reasoning here? Yeah. I mean...
I don't know. I always have I don't know if you guys are similar, but I have a hard time sometimes with feedback like that, being given reasoning. Because in my opinion, at the end of the day, it's like, oh, you just weren't the guy. You weren't the person for the job. And I kind of go back and forth on whether or not I ever want even feedback on auditions, you know? I say that, and I just, before this, texted my manager for feedback on something I really like. But you know how it's
a touch and go.
It is, yeah. I remember reading years ago about how micro failures are very good for you as a person, and I think that we get a lot of micro failures in the industry because
Oh God, it's filled with it.
yeah. What most people don't realize is you book less than 1% of the things that you audition for, you know?
Yeah. And then you book them, and sometimes they get taken away. It's happened to
totally, yeah.
me
and
as well.
And I think my journey for the last 10 years has been figuring out how to deal with those micro failures in a healthy way. And so I kind of go back and forth on the feedback thing, and if that's serving me.
Do you have any tips that has worked for you? Asking for a friend, myself, because it is something that we all battle with, and what helps you in those moments? I mean, are you a meditator? Are you just got to get away from all this, or what have you?
An influencer gymmer.
I mean,
right,
gym has been a big one for me, but
totally, I think working out helps, like going on a hike or whatever. I really miss the in-person audition days because I felt like there was something cathartic about going in the room, performing for people. And I always had this ritual of throwing away my sides as I walked out of the casting office and just, washing myself of the role.
Bryan Cranston talks about that a lot. He's like, you just leave it in there and don't even think about it.
Yeah, I mean, I had a great acting teacher in college who said, the best thing about auditioning is for 5 minutes, the job is yours, And I miss that because that doesn't feel as real, I think, with these remote self-tapes and Zooms and whatever. So to answer your question, I think that it's been harder work in the last couple years than it was. And a big part is still just like completely separating from, so I have a friend that I tape with in LA. We have like a little setup studio in her garage. So like we just tape there. We walk outside and we don't talk about it. And then I'll, go to the gym, go for a hike. And for me, again, resist the urge to, I think, follow up on it and ask my team for like those little tasty breadcrumbs about whether or not they liked it. Because ultimately that, I think, doesn't help me personally.
No, you know what?
Jake, I would love to hear Jake's opinion on this as well.
Well, I just had a follow-up question to this for all of you. For self-tapes, do you
Which I'm
limit
about
yourself?
to do one as soon as we finish this. That was due on Monday, but we were in New York recording podcast stuff, so I was like 2 days late on it.
Do you limit yourself on how much time and how many takes you give yourself to do something? Where do you draw the line? Because I feel like for some roles, I mean, like, that's good enough. Or for others, I'm like, nah, I didn't like that one minute little thing I did in that one little section. Let me just do one more. Where do you usually draw the line for self-tapes?
If I'm prepared, which I'm not always prepared because we just don't have the time in life is happening at the same time, most of the time my first take is the one I go for and the one I go with. It's just like out the gate. I don't know if it's from the theater training or whatever, but like my best choices for me happen right up front. So 9 times out of 10, and I'm looking at her because she's the one 9 times out of 10 taping me. It's the first take, and we'll do one more for safety, and Sainty will be like, "You're fine, you got it, let's move on." And so we will. But then the ones I don't feel prepared on, which I feel like I almost should do it reversed because I'm already in my head and I shouldn't be, and I should just plow through it, is like, wait, and can I rewatch that? And now I'm in my head because I'm seeing things that I didn't like that I was doing, and then I'll have her do it again. But like, we'll never do it over 3 times.
No, yeah. I do it like 15 and a half.
But we've also got 2 kids waiting outside the door and the babysitter and like all these factors that are like not allowing me to think I have time. So it is pretty quick. But sometimes
But
I
I
wish.
do think it's the urgency of like what you have in the room. Like you're not going to be given. That's why I think self-tape sometimes is cheating in a sense. Because you can do it 15 takes. You can do it with different outfits. I can make the lighting perfect. Where we're in the room, it's like, that is it. That is it's like theater. That is your one chance. And I'm always like, if I can get in the room, I can book it. Just get me in the room. Because then I'll just schmooze over casting and be like, we're best friends. Hire me. Like, it's so much easier than this like disconnect where they can like shut the screen on you. Don't you feel like that?
You guys know, it's like we're making all these choices. We have no idea if those are the choices that they're looking for. It's like make bold choices, and it's like
Hope
9
for the
times out of
best.
10 completely off from what they're actually expecting to see.
But when it does pay off,
Yes.
it pays off well.
Correct. Correct.
And then we love self-tapes.
What-
There's
what-
nothing better.
How's it go down for you, Jack?
I mean, first of all, I think it's bullshit that you get to have Sainty as your reader. That just seems like an unfair advantage.
But at the same time, like
No,
she's
but
so
we-
over it.
And we do get in trouble sometimes because they're like, you're definitely with like a character actor during all this. Like we're reading so deep and I'm like, okay, boy. Like I'll never
They're like,
forget. No, it's
Eric, it's not going further with you, but we'd love to cast your reader.
she's great. No, I swear the first time though, because I'm a theater actress, the first time I read with Eric, and I think a lot of people don't realize this, is y'all talk so fucking quiet. Like I remember I would read to Eric and I'm like, how are you doing? He'd be like, I'm good. And I was like, what? I can't hear you. Speak up, bro. Like that was such an interesting thing that he's still teaching me. Like it's such an intimate thing because as people, our audiences don't, like the camera can be like right in front of your face. And that was such an interesting thing as a bona fide reader that I experienced working across from like a TV film actor.
Yeah, sure. I still struggle with that.
Oh,
but
it's so hard.
yeah.
Wait, and
I don't.
go ahead, Lovebug.
Go. No, I was just gonna say I don't have a good answer. I think that I'm still like figuring out how much time to invest in things I really care about. I think I'm grateful for any opportunity to audition for anything really at this point in my life. I think that I'm really excited to work now in a way that I haven't always been in my career. So I relish the opportunity to audition, but I think as a form of self-preservation, I have to figure out how to weight certain auditions. And sometimes it's counterintuitive. Like if I really care about something, I'll actually prepare less as a way to, preserve my feelings if it doesn't go my way. And then other times I'm, to your point, Sainty, I'm like in full costume that I've created, with like
So method.
a backdrop and yeah, exactly. So I don't think I'm super consistent in how I manage that.
And we spoke about micro failures. And what was not a micro failure was How to Get Away with Murder. And it was Shonda Rhimes, which everyone knows is Grey's Anatomy. Did y'all feel the pressure on set of coming from a Grey's Anatomy? Like, did you feel the intensity of it having to be that good and a hit and coming off of that? Like, did you feel the pressure underneath it all by executives?
In a way, I think I was lucky because it was my first TV pilot.
No big deal.
So for anyone that doesn't know, I mean, they historically they would order pilots the first episode of a show, and they don't always get picked up.
Like 8 out of 10 don't. Like it's
8 out of
It's rare to get.
And not only that, you can get recast. You can get fired, and they can reshoot with a different actor. So they're pretty high stress in general. But I, being so new to the industry and green, didn't really like. I remember going into the table read, and Asia Naomi King, who plays Michaela on the show, she pulled me aside out of the goodness of her heart, and she was like, "Babe, like you have to throw down in this table read. They can fire you after this. Like the job is still not yours." Luckily, that didn't happen for any of us. But the real tipping point, Sainty, I think, was we were all in Philly, and they had not cast Viola yet. And so
Wow.
I
all of
didn't
the-
know
all of-
that. So y'all were all
Yeah.
cast before her.
right.
Where
and
I
we
feel
were
like
all
it's usually opposite. Like the leader of the pack is cast first and everybody is around her.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
It was pretty abnormal. And so we were all in Philly, you know, having wardrobe fittings, hair and makeup tests, all of that stuff, and getting, you know, again, the summer camp. It's all, you know, we're all 23, we're all meeting for the first time. And I remember them pulling us into a room and sitting us down and saying, Viola Davis is going to play Annalise Keating. And we all went like, you know, we all just started losing our
Oh my
minds.
God.
But this is how green and nervous I was. One of the first scenes we shot is this big, you know, walk and talk where we're going down these stairs in the courthouse before, you know, a big trial scene. And I was so nervous that I don't think I had had a sip of water in 2 or 3 days. And I fainted on camera in the stairwell. And Viola, I'm like standing next to Viola, you know, in the scene. And Viola's the one that like catches me as I'm fainting. And she, you know, stops the take. And she's like, I think we need to like sit Jack down and get him some water. And like, it was such an important moment because I think we all saw she's
Human.
I mean, I think Viola's the greatest actor living right now. And she plays all of these often very intense roles. And I was intimidated. And this like very small act showed I think all of us how maternal she is and kind. And it sort of, I don't know, eased us into it. So in some ways, everyone, you're welcome for me fainting and bringing down the.
No, but it's so
the
true. Like, I
God,
feel like
what a story.
we've talked about this too, is that celebrities, especially before social media, they were so out of reach. And nowadays, seeing with the social media, like, Jake, have you seen that too, especially being in Hollywood from a little boy to now, of course, like an adult man? Have you seen a change in kind of the culture of Hollywood and how, because like celebrities are attainable now? It's like there was something so special about y'all almost being out of reach. And that, like, I feel like it separated that sense of, you know, you could go home and it was a job. It's like, I just saw you as y'all's characters. Where now it's like, you better be that kind of person in real life too, because that's what I want to meet. Like, have you seen, what is the evolution of Hollywood that you've kind of seen being there that long?
You know, for a long time, I was kind of against like social media. I was not interested in doing anything like that. Even like just the Twitter days or whatever. I was just like, I don't want to be a part of this. And then eventually, of course, this was now too a long time ago. I was up for roles where it was like between, I can remember one of them, it was between me and one other guy, and casting wanted to see all of my social media. And like they wanted to know what my following was and everything like that, because it was for like some independent film. And I was like, I don't do that. And they went with the other guy because he had a very large following on Twitter, and I don't even think Instagram was really much of a thing at that time, because it has baked in viewership or, you know, marketing, and they were kind of counting on that. And that aspect of it has become a little bit more frustrating. I don't think that it necessarily is a thing now. I feel like maybe there's a lot of filmmakers who are kind of appreciative of their actors not just being out there and online 24/7 kind of thing. But it in terms of you know, accessibility of actors, it's fascinating. I mean, I have actually talked about this before, where back in Lizzie days, I mean, there was nothing, absolutely nothing. And nowadays, you know, every kid on a Disney show has an Instagram or a social media page or a YouTube, and you know, it's managed by their team, and it's a whole production. It's a constant production beyond just being an actor on something. You're not focusing on that. You're also focusing on, I need to be a social media influencer. I need to be doing content on a regular basis. There's a lot to it, which I think back then was nice. There was a mystique to it, to everybody. You could only see them as that character. You could separate the character from the person. So it's very different now, for sure.
Now, during Lizzie, were you all signed up? I know I've heard from like Disney and Nickelodeon stars. Like, was your contract where you had to do like 2 movies, a music video? Like, what were the contracts like that back then, or was it just like you are on Lizzie McGuire and we hope you sign up for the movie if we decide to write a movie?
Yeah, they back then, I mean, Lizzie was kind of one of their pioneering shows for what would become their format. And they didn't really have any of that established. I mean, that was back when, God, it was like the shows that came before us were like, Even Stevens had just started.
I feel like I remember, did y'all premiere like the same summer? Or, I just remember that being such, like, I watched both of y'all at the same time.
I think they might have happened right before us. And then like shows before that were like, do you guys remember The Jersey?
No.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
I don't.
You were younger than us. Or I guess you were Jake's age, which y'all were younger. I feel like you were targeting really my age.
Was Boy Meets World after?
No, Boy Meets World was before.
Yeah, okay. That's what I
Yeah.
Yeah. So you had productions like that. They weren't thinking about like creating
these brands,
superstars or brands, and trying to cycle these actors through all sorts of different content. They were just shows the show, move on.
Wow.
Now it's a completely different machine.
Damn, we missed out on the Jake Thomas album.
Yeah, no kidding.
Oh well.
I feel like you would have been such like a TikTok little star. Everybody using like your TikTok music.
Oh God.
I mean, hey, they're monetizing all of it, so a lot of money to be made.
I mean, you've already been immortalized as a meme. So
I am a meme.
Yes.
I have memes. Which that's the greatest gift of all, I think.
Guys, we're gonna wrap things up. I can't thank you enough for both being here. This was such an honor and a privilege to talk to you guys.
But really quick, we always end every episode with you give us your glamour and your grit. And it can be your glamour of the day, something amazing, and your grit.
Like you're up and you're down. Like right now, for me, it's like glamour. I get to go do this fun self-tape after this. I'm looking forward to it. My grit was we lost all of the hard drives of everything we recorded in New York yesterday, and we had a full panic moment.
Yeah.
I called the studios.
We were about to have 2 separate podcasts. I was going to do my own, and I was never going to speak to him again, and he was going to do his
I almost
own.
just lost my marriage right before you guys signed on. But we called the studios, and they had backups. So thank God. I think they fell out of my backpack on the plane. I don't know. We still have to figure it out.
Yeah.
But
it was, Daddy, Mama gave him some choice words.
And it doesn't have to be that intense, but like a glamour and grit of the day or the week or what's going on in your life right now.
They're speechless.
My glamour is that I'm recovering from the Achilles rupture, and I'm officially not using crutches. So I'm walking around on 2 feet.
Hell yeah.
Great progress.
Do you have like a little limp, like, what is it, Christmas Carol, like Tiny Tim?
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm still in a boot. And I'm in the market right now looking at really cool canes.
Oh,
so that I can
character
use a cane
choice
for a little bit. Yeah. Also, you guys would love this. The official rehab protocol for Mass General, so like, one of the biggest teaching hospitals in the world, is when I get out of this boot, I am prescribed cowboy boots for the first 4 weeks.
Wow. Well,
because it gives a little bit of lift to your Achilles. It takes the pressure off. So I got to wear cowboy boots for the next month.
Well, that's amazing, and we're going to get you another pair because one of our sponsors, Rio Sub Mercedes of this podcast, promised our guest boots. So you both are getting boots.
Both get some cowboy boots.
I mean, doctor's orders.
I love it.
Yeehaw.
And then my grit is that the studio had backups of your hard drives, which I
hey. Thank God for Eric. Thank God.
You almost lost me as a friend, I promise.
I was literally about to get away with murder.
No, it was bad. It was bad. It was bad. Jake.
My glamour, my glamour and maybe a little bit of grit is I finished yet another remodel by myself.
Oh my God.
He's the remodel king, by the way. I mean,
Yeah. When we were doing the movie in Texas, I had to stop halfway through on a kitchen remodel that I was doing by myself. But I made everything operational at least. But then came back, finished it. But yeah, I just finished 2 bathrooms. So now
Oh my
everything,
God.
and we're all good.
We might need to fly you down.
yeah.
Are there going to be YouTube videos?
I recorded a video for the bathrooms. I haven't put it together yet, but the video for the kitchen, that's been up for a little while. You can check that one out.
Oh, I watched it.
Okay.
I did.
All right.
I did too.
It inspired me. It inspired me to remodel my.
I was gonna say
kitchen,
you just did
yeah.
the same thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. I wish I could.
Friends helping friends.
I know. I'm gonna have to bring you both down to Texas to help me do
Y'all,
something.
you have to come visit us. Y'all would
love
be
that.
obsessed.
do
We're a
it.
wild crowd down here.
It's fun.
And you think Eric's a good time. You haven't been around me in a while.
We all know you're the fun one.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you. Love you both, and really look forward to hopefully seeing you soon, and maybe our movie someday.
Let's go. Thank you.
Oh
Guys.
my God. We love you guys.
Thanks for having me.
I love you guys.
Thanks,
Have a
Shay.
good one.
Thanks, Paul.
Bye. Oh my God. That was so, y'all. And as you heard, Eric and I were in turmoil before this. I mean,
we were this close to calling off this recording.
and this close to calling off the whole podcast. Like I think I had like fumes coming from every ounce of my body.
I even told her, I was like, Sainty, let me hold the hard drives because I'll put them in my backpack and they're gonna be safe. Like I made the point of basically saying in a sarcastically, now that I'm thinking about it, way of like, I should be the one to hold on to them.
I'm the responsible one.
And they either fell out of my backpack and the overhead on the plane, or they're somewhere in my bed or my closet floating around. But I don't think they are because
What's going to be so fucking funny is if somebody actually finds them and plugs them in, and they're like, "What is this?"
They'll return them immediately. No, there's some really good stuff on there, which is why we
Oh
were
my
so
gosh.
stressed. But another great episode. Thank you guys for tuning in.
Oh my God. Wait, can I just say though, like as a millennial girly, that was so massive for me talking to them. Like
I knew
it
you would be
was
freaking out.
so major. It's like 2 major moments in my life, and like Lizzie McGuire and seeing Jack in like every show I was ever obsessed with. It's so wild, especially I'm just a normal person. So
Hardly,
on
but yeah.
this podcast, when I get to speak to people, it baffles me sometimes. Like it's so cool. If you would have told myself a couple years ago that I would talk to Jack and Jake, there's no way I would have believed it.
This
So
is cool. This is so much fun.
it's real special.
So thanks. And we got even more exciting people coming up. Well, not even more, but also more exciting people coming up.
Yes.
So stay tuned. And
Thank you. See you Friday.
We'll see you in a couple days.
Glamour.
Grit. Glamour.
Grit.
Glamour.
Grit. Glamour.
Grit.